She said, "I'm going to freak thee out." But say it like that. What is wrong? I wasn't seeing you worried about the victims at all. You don't know that. You're assuming that. What would I have needed to do? You were only throwing insults at me. You weren't taking any kind of conversations with me. To be called a liar. Well, if you would talk to me, then maybe you could convince me that you weren't. Where's my apology? And you're not getting one. Why not? Because I don't like you. Oh, good. This is a mutual thing. Yeah. Never. No. She came onto the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as the quirky, wealthy Southern belle with couture closets and Southern manners. But behind Sutton Stracke's money and pearls lies a history of meltdowns, feuds, hypocrisy, and shade that even Bravo fans say went too far. From lawsuits and accusations to racist scandals and friendships destroyed, this is the shady side of Sutton Stracke. What I mean by that is hold on. That's not nice. Is not. I'm just saying exactly what you're saying. You're not being nice, Sutton. You're not. Listen to me. Let me explain myself then. To me, I'm not going to play this game with you. I swear to God. Shut up. Shame on Sutton. I don't care if she's my friend. Before Sutton Stracke was clutching pearls on Bravo stages, she was a Georgia girl raised in a world of tradition, manners, and Southern money. Born and bred in Augusta, she grew up as the ultimate Southern debutante, the kind of young woman groomed for cotillions, charity boards, and the country club life. And for years, that's exactly the life she lived. But I think about you, and that's why I miss small town, which is a really derogatory thing to say to me and to my hometown and to all small towns in America. I am very proud of what Christian and I built together. We built it from the ground up. No money, even though I'm divorced and whatever. Her marriage to Christian Stracke, a wealthy hedge fund executive, secured her place in the world of elite privilege. But behind closed doors, the marriage was rocky. When it ended in divorce, Sutton walked away not broken, but richer than ever. Reports claim her divorce settlement left her financially set for life with millions in assets, homes, and even ownership stakes in Christian's hedge fund. Sutton went from a wife living in the shadows of high finance to an independently wealthy socialite with endless access to couture and cash. With her wealth now untethered to a man, Sutton made the move west, straight into the glittering but cutthroat world of Beverly Hills. She quickly embedded herself in the city's elite, hosting extravagant parties and cementing a reputation for her quirky taste and love of high fashion. She wasn't just a woman of means. She was a woman who wanted everyone to know it. So when Bravo came knocking in 2019, Sutton was the perfect fit for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. A walking spectacle of wealth, eccentricity, and couture. From the moment she stepped onto season 10, she was instantly unforgettable. $35,000 on a birthday party, check. Private fittings in Paris, couture houses, check. Outspoken shade with a sweet Southern drawl, double check. To some, Sutton was refreshing, the oddball rich lady who wasn't afraid to be herself. To others, she was pretentious, disconnected, and already showing cracks in her bless-your-heart charm. And yet, beneath the glitz and quirky one-liners, there was always something sharper, something darker. Because Sutton's story wasn't just about fashion and money. It was about control, power, and the messy drama that comes when you throw a Southern belle into the lion's den of Beverly Hills. The truth, Beverly Hills doesn't care about debutante manners. And as Sutton was about to learn, all the pearls in the world can't protect you from Bravo-level shade. When Sutton Stracke stepped into her second season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, she wasn't just the quirky couture queen anymore. She had a target on her back, and Erika Jayne was holding the bow. The year was 2020, and Erika's life had imploded in scandal. Her husband, Tom Girardi, was exposed in a massive fraud scheme, accused of stealing millions from plane crash victims, widows, and orphans. The Bravo cameras were rolling, and suddenly the show shifted from champagne lunches to legal drama. And Sutton, she found herself in the middle of it all. At first, Sutton played the concerned friend. She asked questions. She probed. She demanded clarity. But quickly the narrative changed. The more Sutton spoke up, the more the cast turned on her and Erica sharpened her claws. Their fights became legendary. Sutton trembling at dinners. Erica screaming, "You better watch what you're saying about me or else." The tension was Bravo gold. And Sutton was branded the villain who dared to question the Ice Queen. But here's the thing. Sutton wasn't entirely innocent. Fans applauded her for standing up to Erica, but behind the scenes, Sutton was milking the moment. She wasn't just asking questions, she was orchestrating the storyline, making herself the star of the season. Bravo rewarded her with diamond holder status. Erica's downfall had become Sutton's rise. And then came the security scandal. In one of her most bizarre moments, Sutton revealed on camera that she had hired personal security after fighting with Erica. She claimed she was afraid for her life. Viewers rolled their eyes, and the cast accused her of being overdramatic. Some even called it performative, a desperate grab for attention to paint Erica as dangerous and herself as the victim. But Sutton didn't stop there. She doubled down on her paranoia, telling the group she had been warned about Erica's connections and potential retaliation. For fans, it was peak Sutton, dramatic, delusional, and dripping with Southern melodrama. And while Sutton may have thought she was coming across as brave, to many, she looked like a woman exploiting another cast member's legal downfall for her own storyline. The Erica feud cemented Sutton as a core housewife. She wasn't just the oddball with pearls and couture anymore. She was a lightning rod for drama, the one willing to say what others wouldn't, but it also painted her in a new light. To some fans, she was shady, manipulative, and untrustworthy. To others, she was a hero. What no one could deny was that Sutton had found her formula. Stir the pot, cry about it later, and keep the cameras rolling. But as Bravo fans know, the Housewives universe is unforgiving. The same storyline that makes you a star in one season can make you the villain next. If Sutton Stracke made her name as the quirky couture queen, she kept her crown by being cruel. By 2021, the sweet Southern debutante mask was slipping and Sutton was showing a darker side, one that fans couldn't ignore. Her biggest crime, saying the quiet part out loud. Sutton had a habit of cutting her castmates with comments that sounded polite but left scars. At Dorit's expense, Sutton famously quipped she didn't care about her robbery because she had her own problems. The internet lit up. How could Sutton brush off her friend's trauma with such cold indifference? Dorit had just lived through a home invasion and Sutton turned it into a punchline. That wasn't an isolated incident. Sutton seemed to thrive on belittling moments. She snapped at Crystal Kung Minkoff during a heated dinner, dismissing Crystal's emotional experience as jealousy and calling her a dramatic millennial. Fans accused Sutton of gaslighting Crystal and minimizing her feelings. The feud escalated into one of the ugliest racial debates in Bravo history, with viewers blasting Sutton for her ignorance and privilege. And then there were her constant meltdowns. Sutton loved to play the victim, crying over every confrontation, shaking at dinners, storming out in hysterics. But just as quickly, she'd snap back with a biting one-liner. Her feud with Lisa Rinna over Elton John gala tickets turned into one of the pettiest Bravo fights of all time. Sutton accused Rinna of stiffing her on tickets. Rinna clapped back. And suddenly Sutton was branded as cheap, shady, and desperate for attention. By now, Sutton wasn't just eccentric. She was mean. Fans began to notice her pattern. She'd poke, prod, insult, then break down into tears when called out. It was the cycle of Sutton, and it was starting to wear thin. Her castmates grew tired, too. Garcelle Beauvais, her closest ally, even called her out on Watch What Happens Live, admitting Sutton could be messy and cruel. When your only real friend on the cast is throwing shade, you know the tides are turning. Online, Sutton's reputation shifted. At first, she was the truth teller, the one who stood up to Erika Jayne. But as seasons went on, fans started to see her as toxic. Twitter lit up with posts calling her a rich Karen in couture, fake nice, but actually nasty, and the worst thing to happen to RHOBH since Teddy. Her cruelest moments became memes. Sutton rolling her eyes at Crystal's pain. Sutton minimizing Dorit's robbery. Sutton screaming about Elton John tickets. Instead of being remembered for her couture or quirky humor, she became the poster child for unhinged housewives' behavior. But Sutton didn't care. In her mind, the drama kept her relevant, and Bravo kept rewarding her with more screen time. Yet, the more she leaned into the villain role, the more fans turned on her. And in Housewives history, once the viewers decide you're the problem, the clock starts ticking on your diamond. For years, Sutton Stracke paraded herself as Beverly Hills' newest diamond, the independently wealthy Southern belle dripping in couture. She bragged about her $35,000 party budgets, her haute couture closets, and her socialite lifestyle. But behind the Chanel and the mess was a much darker truth. Sutton's so-called fortune wasn't as clean or as secure as she wanted everyone to believe. Let's start with the elephant in the room, Sutton's divorce. When she joined Housewives, she openly admitted that most of her wealth came from her ex-husband, Christian Stracke, a managing director at PIMCO, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world. Christian is the real money, the one who bought the properties, the one who built the empire. And when they divorced, Sutton walked away with a massive settlement, a mansion in Bel Air, a stake in financial investments, even a couture budget bankrolled by her ex. But here's the shady part. Divorce documents show Sutton had no idea about the full extent of her wealth until the split. Translation: she spent years playing Beverly Hills Barbie while Christian quietly built the fortune. By the time she cashed out, she was instantly rich, but not from her own hustle. Fans started asking the obvious. Was Sutton really an independent powerhouse or just a wealthy ex-wife spending her hedge fund settlement? And then came the lawsuits. Multiple reports linked Sutton to messy legal battles over her real estate. Neighbors complained about endless construction and zoning issues. A lawsuit was filed involving Sutton's West Hollywood boutique. Accusations of unpaid contractors, late fees, and shady business practices. While Sutton flaunted her boutique on Housewives, insiders whispered that the store wasn't turning a real profit and employees described her as difficult and impossible to work for. On top of that, financial rumors began swirling online. Bravo blogs reported whispers that Sutton's fortune was drying up, that her boutique was a vanity project losing money, that she was burning through her divorce settlement faster than it could grow. When Sutton revealed she had to liquidate assets to keep her store running, fans saw it as proof that her wealthy persona was cracking. And let's not forget the infamous Elton John Gala ticket scandal. Sutton claimed she bought Lisa Rinna and Harry Hamlin's tickets to the charity event, trying to flex her wealth and generosity. But Rinna clapped back, implying Sutton wasn't telling the whole story. The petty fight over who paid revealed something deeper. Sutton was desperate to prove she belonged in Beverly Hills' upper echelon, even if it meant exaggerating her status. The cracks in Sutton's facade grew wider every season. Behind the couture and crocodile tears was a woman whose money wasn't as untouchable as it seemed, whose businesses weren't thriving, and whose reputation was starting to sour. And in Beverly Hills, once the image of wealth and power starts to crumble, the whole empire falls with it. By 2024, Sutton's shady financial rumors became a constant topic in fan circles. Was her fortune truly secure, or was Sutton living paycheck to Bravo paycheck? She could cry, scream, and shade her way through the reunion couches. But one thing became clear. The woman who flaunted her wealth on national TV was now being defined by whispers of lawsuits, financial instability, and a reputation for being more style than substance. She wanted to be Beverly Hills royalty. Instead, she became Beverly Hills' cautionary tale. Proof that money may buy couture, but it can't buy class, credibility, or the truth. For years, Sutton Stracke survived Housewives' chaos by playing the quirky outsider, the eccentric fashionista who could cry on cue and shade with a southern smile. But by 2024, that act had worn thin. Fans were no longer laughing at her awkward meltdowns. They were calling her toxic, manipulative, and the true villain of Beverly Hills. It started small. Sutton's feuds with Erika Jayne and Crystal Minkoff were entertaining at first, but they revealed a pattern. Sutton wasn't just emotional. She was cruel. The crying fits turned into screaming matches, and the victim act started to feel fake. Fans noticed how she'd poke, prod, and stir drama, only to collapse into tears the moment anyone clapped back. Social media turned the nickname Crybaby Sutton into a full-blown meme. And then came her reunion behavior. Sutton's repeated meltdowns, constant wine glass hand-waving, and refusal to own her shade turned the audience against her. Even Andy Cohen, who once defended her, looked visibly exhausted by her antics. Viewers said Sutton wasn't quirky anymore. She was unbearable. But the real shift came when Sutton started turning on her so-called friends. She dragged Kyle Richards over her marriage, hinting at secrets and betrayals. She shaded Garcelle, the one castmate who had her back in confessionals. And she doubled down on her obsession with Erika Jayne's legal drama long after it stopped being relevant. Fans didn't see her as brave. They saw her as cruel, petty, and desperate for attention. Meanwhile, Sutton's image outside the show wasn't faring any better. Bravo blogs exposed her boutique's ongoing financial problems. Reports surfaced of former employees accusing her of being a nightmare boss. Fans speculated she was running out of money, that her couture wasn't paid in full, that her wealth wasn't nearly as secure as she bragged. The whispers of lawsuits and unpaid bills combined with her on-screen behavior to paint a damning picture. Sutton wasn't Beverly Hills royalty. She was Beverly Hills smoke and mirrors. The final straw, her season 13 meltdown where Sutton drunkenly accused multiple cast members of covering up lies and stormed out of filming, only to post cryptic rants on Instagram calling herself the truth teller of Beverly Hills. Instead of sympathy, the internet turned on her. Comment sections filled with, "This isn't cute anymore." Sutton is the problem, not the victim. She needs to go. In a city where reputation is everything, Sutton's was officially destroyed. The Southern Belle act no longer fooled anyone. The crying fits no longer earned her sympathy. And the couture closet, fans called it nothing more than a costume, a desperate shield hiding insecurity and instability. By 2025, the calls for Bravo to drop her were louder than ever. Once seen as the breakout star of RHOBH, Sutton became the cast member fans most wanted gone. She had lost the trust of her castmates, the patience of the network, and the loyalty of the audience. By 2025, Sutton Stracke's storyline had flipped completely. She was no longer the eccentric Southern belle with a couture closet and a sharp tongue. She was the cautionary tale, the housewife who lost it all while trying to prove she had it all. Today, Sutton's once pristine image is riddled with cracks. Her boutique, once her pride and joy, struggles to stay afloat. Fashion insiders whisper that Sutton's high-end looks are more borrowed than bought, and her attempts to position herself as a luxury tastemaker have fallen flat. The mystique of her wealth has faded, and with it the aura that made her stand out among the Beverly Hills elite. On screen, Sutton has become a shell of her former self. She's isolated from much of the cast, and her former allies, Garcelle, Crystal, even Kyle, keep their distance. Instead of the underdog fans once rooted for, she's viewed as the erratic antagonist, prone to meltdowns, fueled by wine, and desperate to control the narrative. Bravo producers still give her camera time, but it's not flattering. Sutton is no longer being showcased as a fan favorite. She's being exposed as the spectacle. And then there's Sutton's personal life, or a lack of one. The hopeless romantic arc fizzled. The string of boyfriends and awkward dating storylines became a punchline. Despite her money, despite her fame, Sutton's love life is still a desert. She's not the Southern belle waiting for her prince. She's the middle-aged Bravo star clinging to relevance. Social media has amplified her downfall. Once celebrated as quirky Sutton, she's now the subject of TikTok parodies, meme compilations, and Bravo fan podcasts labeling her the biggest liability on RHOBH. Even Andy Cohen has shifted his tone, less protective, more critical. Sutton's Bravo future looks uncertain, and her reputation outside of it is even worse. She came to Beverly Hills with couture gowns, Southern charm, and a dream of fitting in with the elite. But in the end, Sutton didn't become a diamond. She became the villain, a housewife so desperate to shine that she burned herself out under the spotlight. Sutton Stracke's journey is the perfect Bravo parable, a Southern belle who thought money, couture, and crocodile tears could buy her a reputation. Instead, it bought her enemies, scandals, and one of the fastest reputational downfalls in Housewives history. From her $35,000 party budgets to her infamous feuds, Sutton built an image that simply couldn't survive the truth. Today, fans don't see her as glamorous or quirky. They see her as the woman who turned Beverly Hills shade into self-destruction. But what do you think? Is Sutton a misunderstood outsider who was unfairly villainized or the architect of her own downfall? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into the shady side of celebrity life.